Thanks so much for tuning in to the Pick a Side podcast. This week is dedicated to Women's Financial Literacy Week. We're going to be talking about credit, real estate, insurance, multi-level marketing, and so much more. So make sure you get your pen and your pad and get ready to write so many notes down. Enjoy the show.
And a very good day to the Pick a Side Nation. This is James Finley, your host for the Pick a Side podcast. Hope everyone is doing very well. Well, today we have a very, very special treat for you. So we're going to be kicking off this week with our Women's Financial Literacy Week. And we are going back to the East Coast to get some information on credit. We are trying to find out why Black folks have such a major problem maintaining good credit, why they don't have credit, and why we haven't been taught how to use our credit. And we'll even go into how we need to leverage credit. So I brought into the show someone who I've been knowing forever, very talented. I just can't. I'm run out a whole lot of things to say about her. She does a lot of things very, very well. So when my sister got in contact with me a few days ago, she had told me, she said, you need to get in contact with Brandee because Brandee's doing some stuff on credit. I'm like, okay, all right. And then so I started reading the information and I was like, oh yes, yeah, I need to get her onto the show. So there's not a better way to start this financial literacy week than having Miss Brandee Wilder come to the lab. Brandee, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderfully well. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to kick this off.
Hey, listen, I'm excited to have you into the lab, and I'm quite sure there's a whole lot of folks that know us is going to be like, what they talking about? They probably think they're about to be talking about some stuff that's going on King Boulevard in Atlanta. No, we're not talking about that today. That's for a whole nother show. And that's what we'll be coming up, just to let y'all know. But anyway, so Brandee.
Yes, sir.
Let everybody know kind of what you've been doing and give everybody an update so we'll know what's going on.
Okay, well, I am Brandee B. Wilder, and I consider myself, I'm known as the Black Credit Conversationalist. I have the Black Credit Conversation with people, and the main goal of the Black Credit Conversation is to empower people to not be afraid of their credit, not to be afraid of their credit past, not to be afraid of what credit is, and even to educate them on how to use credit to get ahead in life. Culturally, there is a systemic and there is a stigma in our community that we're afraid to talk about finances. We're afraid to talk about credit. We're afraid to talk about wealth. We're afraid to talk about salaries. We're afraid to talk about the things that actually impact our community the most. And years ago, it was a credit. I had a come to Jesus moment, I call it, where I was confronted with my credit history because I was desperate. And then I had someone very, very instrumental in my life that I looked up to kind of pull my coat and call me on the carpet about my credit. And she explained to me the power of having good credit. And from that day forward, I sought out to understand and really learn this credit game, because credit, like business, being successful in business is a game. Credit is a game. And once you learn how to play it, then you can be successful. We're taught culturally that credit is a trap, but credit is actually a tool.
Yeah, and so I'm glad that you made a little segue into the first question, because my first question was going to be to you, when did you have your quote unquote wake up call to credit? Because we all get to that point in life where we get a little bit of credit, and then all of a sudden we find out, oh my God, what have I done? So talk about your little wake up call when you knew that it was kind of like not going so good.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say, we all right now, the catchword is the buzzword is entanglement, right? We know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So I had my first entanglement with credit over 20 years ago when I was about 18, 19 years old. That was when they used to put a credit card in the mail with your name on it, send it to you. I was headed into my freshman year in college, and I got a nice new shiny credit card in the mail, had my name on it. It was like, call this number to activate. I was straight. I was like, the Lord is so good, because he knew I needed this card. He answered my prayer. Thank you, Jesus. But the problem was I signed it, I called a number, and I charged it all the way up, right? 18 going on 19 years old, and had no idea about what credit was. I thought it was actually just money that I was given. I didn't understand a credit limit, so I spent it up to the credit limit. I didn't understand that sending a $20 minimum payment in was not basically something you had to do, but that it was a suggestion. So I was like, well, what is $20 going to do? I owe so much. I'll wait till I get some more money. Then I'll send them some money. But I'll wait for them to re-up my credit limit so I can, have some more money to work with. That was my, right? So I did it at 18, 19 years old. I had creditors calling me. I avoided them because I had seen that in my life anyway. That's what you do when you owe people money. Just avoid them and don't answer the phone, changing up. That's what I seen. Not throwing nobody under the bus, but that's my story. Then I got older and I couldn't get approved for another car, right? Because that had gone on my credit. I had a charge off. Then I started getting $200 cards here, $300 there, high interest, right? Didn't know how to use them until I go all the way fast forward where I'm in the industry where I'm touring and I'm having to check in the hotels, right? And even though the room is paid for because I'm touring, most people that have ever checked into a hotel know that one of the first things you do when you check in, you give them your ID and you give them what? Some form of payment, right?
That's right.
And so this was when I was touring. You could give them a debit card, but what would happen is they would hold $50 a night from your credit card. Now, mind you, if money's already a little tight. Now, this ain't no credit card. This is tied to the money in your bank, whatever money you may have in there. And you talking about being somewhere, even if it's for 2 days. You're talking about saying, well, we're gonna swipe it because it's not credit, it's money. Account. They take money. They put a real hold on it because they want to know it's there. You talk about $100, that's $200, and then they say, "Well, don't worry about it. We're going to release the hold within 5 to 7 days." Right? Okay. So imagine money already kind of tight and scarce, and I had to be doing that, and I was on tour, which meant in a week I may have been staying in 3 or 4 hotels. So imagine doing that, and everybody's taking like $50 to $100 a night.
And then it says pending.
Yes, pending meaning you can't use this money. So for them to even swipe it and take it, the money has to be there. And I kept dealing with that, and I kept having struggles because now I'm just being transparent. That's what my Black credit conversation is. I was bouncing payments for other things that were coming through. Why? Because it wasn't that I wasn't going to have the money. It was just I hadn't gotten paid yet, or I had to get in this hotel. My colleagues are behind me about to check in. I don't want to be embarrassed. So I'm doing what I have to do to get by. And one day I went into the room and I cried because I was so embarrassed. And I was like, I think my car payment was going to come out or something. Bills, I had checks, coming in. And I'm just like, you have got to do something different. And I was forced to confront all of the things I had been running from, which was the main thing was not just my spending habits, but my bad credit. And so I said, you know what? Let me research what people do when they have bad credit to get another credit card. Because I'm going to be honest, I had defaulted on the other small limit cards that I had been given. But I did have one that was in good standing that had like maybe a $200 or $300 limit, super high interest rate, which I didn't really understand it because at the time, I was desperate to get it. So I just signed on the line. You say how much interest? Okay, whatever. I didn't even understand what an APR was or what it was, the ramifications, none of that. But I was desperate for what they would give me. So I accepted it. Fast forward, moved out to LA, This was, I'm going to tell you, this was only like 8 years ago, 8 years ago. Moved out to LA. I had a credit card that was in good standing. But then I needed a secure card with a higher limit. My car broke down. So I had gotten the card, was doing good with that, and was building it up. I had put in 2 deposits. My car broke down. I needed a new car. And I tried to get a loan. And nobody would give me a loan except for one bank. And it was at 29% interest.
Ooh.
Let me say
I
that
know
again.
the
I
feeling.
know with some people that's gonna see this that have been there. 29% interest. And I sat on the floor in my studio apartment in Hollywood, California, between Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset, and I cried. Cried, and then once I cried, I prayed and I said, Lord, I am sorry for real this time, because I had said
Yeah.
but I was like, if you help me, I promise you, I am going to get my life together and I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to be a good steward. And I started researching credit. And then I decided to talk to the lady at a credit union that I had an account for years and only had put $25 in it. I called her and she said, young lady, she said, I'm gonna tell you now. I had they ran my credit and stuff. She said, I'm gonna tell you right now, the best thing you need to do is you need to go ahead and accept that loan. But understand this. She said, if you start banking with us consistently, if you let all of your direct deposits come into the bank and we can see how much money you're making, and she said, don't be late on another payment. She said, you pay everything on time. I promise you, in 6 months, we will refinance this vehicle for you.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I promise you, I guarantee you. And I did it. And I did exactly what she said. I did everything to a T. I started calling the credit union because that was a relationship that I started to build. I asked them every question. I asked them embarrassing questions. I got over my ego and I started learning everything I could consume on credit to understand it, how it worked, why I needed it, how it affected my life, who pulled my credit, why they pulled my credit. I consumed it. And do you know, just like she said, it was over 6 months. It was going right into the 7th month. One day I got a call from the credit union. Hello, may I speak to Brandee Wilder? This is she. Yes, we see that you have a so-and-so vehicle, and we wanted to know if you would like to refinance your vehicle. We can offer you, I think it was 8.9%, and we'll give you back $1,000 today in your account. And your payment, check this out. My payment was almost $200 a month lower.
$200
a month in almost 7 months. So from the time I talked to her, where I think I had like a 528 credit score, to the time that for 6.5 months, almost 7 months, I worked diligently. I got my act together. I committed to understanding what I was doing and doing what I was told to do. And I got back $200. I lowered my interest rate, and it gave me some breathing room, and it helped my credit.
Yeah. Now, it's so funny. It's so funny that you said that, because, hey, listen, hey, Pick a Side podcast, I'm all about transparency. And so I think that people can appreciate, whatever you're doing in life when you're transparent with them. So as you're talking about the hotels and how you go and you put, your debit, not credit card, but your debit card down there. Well, such is the same for rental cars. So I remember I wanted to go out I was taking this young lady out to dinner. And so I wanted to go rent me this car. So I rented the car, convertible. And I was going to press on the first date. We was going way out to Orange County to Newport Beach for dinner. And I knew I'd be able to have the top back and all that. And so I got the car, rent car, put on my debit and all that. I'm good to go. I'm like, okay, it's good. I'm rolling. I'm going to pick her up. We going down to the restaurant. So the restaurant, I done spent all this money, on the restaurant, and I gave her my debit card. And the lady came back and she said, we have a little problem with your debit card. And, and I'm saying to myself, I know the money's in there. And so I said, what problem are you having? I said, well, hey, go back and run it again. I said, it ain't right. So the young lady is sitting across the table looking like me like, okay, what's up with this? And so she came back. This time she came back with the manager. And, Newport Beach, that's kind of like, white. So she come back and she said, the manager said, you're going to have another form of payment. And so I'm saying to myself, Oh my God, what am I said, so I told the young lady, I said, can you excuse me for a second? So I had to go to the front of the restaurant. I had to call the bank and literally was crying, like, please release the money, please. And they did it. The lady, she did it, and the card
Oh,
came through in the same day. However, which leads into the next question: why are Black folks? Why we don't take credit serious? Why Black folks don't take credit serious?
okay. I can give you a few reasons, and I'll start with my own personal
Mm-hmm.
experience and what a lot of my clients we talk about all the time. First of all, we're taught a lot of times, I said it before, that credit is a trap, right? We're
Right,
taught
right.
automatically to fear credit. And it's
Yep.
usually that information or that advice or that
Mm-hmm.
warning usually comes from a close family member that's older than
Yep.
us
Mm-hmm.
that has gotten into their own trouble with credit early on.
Yep.
And instead of them learning and understanding credit and even rehabilitating their credit, they have decided to stay away from it because it did them harm and now they have bad credit. And so,
Mm-hmm.
if you are close to that person, you see the ramifications or you see the things that happen as a result of that bad credit that they have. And
Right.
so, you decide, we draw our own conclusions, or we have this preconceived notion that credit is a bad thing. And then you're taught that just do everything cash, because if you do everything cash, then you don't have to worry about getting caught up. You don't have to worry about getting entangled or falling into the trap,
That's
because
right.
the credit card companies can't trap you if you don't have them extend credit to you. So
Yeah.
don't worry about your credit, worry about building up your savings, or worry
Yeah.
about building up your cash on hand. Get to the money.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the money.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Yep.
worry about
Yep.
credit.
Yep.
If
Yep.
you
Yep.
got,
Yep.
you got cash in the bank, what you need credit for? That's what you're taught, because all they do, the only people that ever have good credit are not us and rich people. That's
Mm.
why. And so Black people, we we grow up with a wrong idea of what how important credit is, and then it establishes an unhealthy relationship with credit, because what happens is, instead of you being proud of your credit score or happy or excited about what having good credit can do for you, you actually make credit an enemy. And so
Yep.
now, anytime
Yep.
you think about your credit, or
Mm.
anytime the idea of having your credit run, it's a source of fear and
Yeah. Whew. Mm.
frustration, uncertainty. Why? Because you know that you haven't established a relationship with credit. Either you don't even have credit because people stay away from it. I've had clients that are grown, good and grown, have no credit. So,
Yep.
and a lot of times, more than likely, no credit is worse than
It's
having
worse.
credit. Yes,
Yep. That's it. That's
tell
it.
me. So
Yep.
that's
That's
why.
it.
That is
And,
exactly why.
and I am one of those individuals. I went a full 11 years without credit,
Wow.
because my credit had gotten so bad at one point. I just said, man, I'm never going to be able to clean this up. I said, it's just never going to happen. And I kind of just settled into the fact that I'm just not going to have no credit for the rest of my life. I'm never going to be able to get, a house or anything again. I'm never going to be able to get anything substantial, because the fact that I went ahead and, I lived a very fast life in my 20s and 30s. I mean, I was full tilt. You couldn't tell me
Yeah.
anything.
Okay.
And so, when I got my American Express card, I was not I was not told at the time that, all right, listen here, this American Express card that you have right here,
A green
this
card.
ain't this ain't like the rest of these cards now. And this card right here, when you spend it for the month, at the end of the month, you got to pay back everything on that American Express card.
All of it.
Yeah, ain't no minimum payment, ain't no calling to make arrangements or nothing like that. And so, yeah. So,
what kind of card is that then? Tell them what it is. It's not a credit card.
shoot.
It's a charge card.
It is a real charge card.
So it's
And
not a credit card. And a
not a
credit
credit card. You're
an
right. You're right.
Express credit card and an American Express charge card is when you have a charge card, like he said, in 30 days, and really it's less than 30 days. Sometimes it's 21 days from the time when your statement closes. So that could be from the time you spend it to the statement close date. You are obligated to pay that entire sum back.
Yep. So when the transmission went out on one of my cars, and so I'm going there and I'm like, oh, ain't no biggie. And I'm busting out with the American Express card, and dude said, hey, okay, just sign right here. Went through. And I'm looking at $900 back then for a transmission. And so my car's ready in 3 days. I roll off the lot. I'm good. And life is good and this and that. And when I got that statement, and when it said amount due now, it had that $900 charge on there. In addition to all the other stuff that I had done, it came out to about $1,300 or something like that. And and then it gave me how many days I had to pay it. And I'm just like, oh man. And then that kind of started the downfall with American Express, because American Express will give you about 2 to 3 months to get your life in order before they take your life, and then you're gonna have another order to get it in. So I know all about that. So as black folks, as you just asked the question, should we, and I say this to a lot of things, is this something that should be taught in the inner city schools? I went to an inner city school coming up. So did you. So should we be taught this in school?
Absolutely. 100%. I believe, in my opinion, unless you're going to be a scientist or somebody, a doctor, someone that needs a high level science, needs high level math, finance classes, money classes that teach you about what credit is, how to use credit, how important a budget and finance. Those are the things that should be taught in every school,
not
absolutely. Schools, but in every school, because those are things that are applicable to everyone's life. If you're rich, if you're poor, you upper class, you middle class, you lower middle class, you're everyone will have to deal with credit.
Yeah, everyone. It should definitely be a prerequisite that class is taught in middle school and high school, because in my home growing up, my dad was a cash man. My dad, load of cash in the pocket, load of cash. And my dad may have had a couple of credit cards, but I think they may have been linked to my mom, where you get the additional card holder's name. But but my dad was not a big credit card cat. My mother, on the other hand, she was, but it still was not ingrained in me on the effects of it. I would hear, hey, make sure you get your credit, this now. Yeah. We wasn't really, tending to that, but we are kind of, we've suffered from things where we didn't have to. Right. And so now, in your generation, my generation, we kind of coming up, we came up kind of on the wrong side of the mountain with it. And so many of my peers right now are reestablishing credit. And, listen, we in the second half of our lives right now. Right. And so, I mean, better late than never, but still the fact of the point is that, you're able to educate your generation and the generation underneath you on, listen, this is like really, really important. And I see right now, just in the ever since, let's see, from April to the 6th of August, my credit score has gone up 67 points. See? Just in that short period of time. And so it's not like it take a rocket science for this to happen. It can happen. You just have to do your due diligence.
Yes.
So you have another career where you be torn, and she's phenomenal. Brandee has been all over the world, all over the world.
I have.
So you come up with this new thing, which is called Black Credit Conversation.
Correct.
So let's venture into that and let people know kind of how you came to that concept of Black Credit Conversation, and what's the concept of it.
Okay, so the Black Credit Conversation, I've actually been having these conversations with people for a while now, but because, like you said, I've been touring literally all over the world consistently, like for the last 10 years. So I got my credit freedom. I'm going to say, my independence from being afraid of credit about 8 years ago. And after that, anything you start to learn and you really see how it impacts your life, or you love it, or it changes your life, it makes you happy, you want to tell everybody, right? And I found at first when I would tell everybody, and I didn't realize it was because people were ashamed of their own credit situation. People weren't so excited. They would be like, yeah, B, we know your credit, like you so happy. And it wasn't because I was gloating or I was trying to flex. I was so happy to understand it. And I was so amazed.
Yeah.
The load that had been lifted off my shoulders, that anybody that would and wouldn't listen, I wanted to tell them about what was going on in my life. And I started to try to share like tips and things to people. And some people listened and gladly wanted them. And some people were like, okay, B, thank you. They weren't as excited for me as I was for them to get the knowledge. And then over time, because on the side, everything for my companies is under the umbrella, the B side. I have that's my parent company. And so everything's a part of the B side productions, the B side consulting, which I was consulting with people when I wasn't touring, help people to start and establish their own businesses and brands, right? Which a lot of people didn't know it, but people that were my clients would know it. Well, as we would talk, I would start getting into them about expanding their business or why they hadn't done certain things. And there was always a link that happened to bring people back to finance and back to their credit, right? Even a person that had established businesses, I would find that they would be like, well, I'm trying to get my finances straight. I'm trying to get my credit straight first, and then I can do some stuff. And so I would use that opportunity where we would be talking about business. Somehow it would segue into talking to people about their credit. And I had several of my clients one day say, B, I notice when you talk about credit, it's just you light up. It's like I see this joy that you have. And I also want you to know how it's impacted my life. And it was like, they would say this: if we never had that one conversation, I wouldn't have decided to do X, Y, and Z, or I wouldn't have decided to, do whatever. And then I started thinking, you know what? It was actually one conversation that changed my life and made me really get my act together financially and to take my credit seriously. And then I started to realize that there was a common thread, that it was my Black people, my friends, my family, my colleagues, a lot of them, we were the ones that had some of the very same experiences growing up and experienced the same type of credit trauma. So as a result of that, a few years ago, I would say 2 years ago, I kept saying, maybe you should just start. I don't believe in it's not repairing people's credit, because I don't do that. I don't fix people's credit. I'm not a Yala. I don't fix your life. You fix your own credit. I empower you.
Right.
Okay, so don't have people coming, hey, said you can fix my credit. No, ma'am. No, sir. That is not what we do here. I don't fix anything. I empower you. I empower you to stop running. I empower you to forgive yourself for bad decisions. I empower you to learn and educate yourself to understand this game so that you can change your life, so you can change your children's lives. And I do it so that you can help to change your family's lives. Because once you know it, you can't know if I gave you a plate of some food that I bought from a restaurant then right now, and you eat the food, you like, babe, this is the best. Like, where did you get this from? Oh my goodness. And I tell you, you're going to eat it. And then when you get off, you finish your plate of food, later on, you're going to tell somebody else. Why?
Yep.
Because it was that good to you and you want other people to experience it. And what I found, like Black people, one thing we do, and everybody does it culturally, we talk a lot, right? Well, I want to have this conversation because it was one conversation that changed my life. And if we have a conversation that just helps you to just move in the next direction that's going to get you to your purpose in life, to help you meet goals financially, fiscally, if it's going to help you stop being afraid to confront some things that you've been ashamed of or fearful of or even ignorant of. And that's the thing. The only shame in being ignorant, and ignorance is not a shameful thing unless you choose to stay ignorant. Being stupid is different. Being ignorant, you just don't know. And a lot of us in our community, we just don't know because we weren't taught to know. We were taught, most people like, well, that's grown folks' business. So you don't worry about what's going on over here, right? You stay in a child's place. Your parents don't talk to you about bills, about finances. They don't talk to you, or they don't want to bombard you with struggles and stuff. So if you see your parents struggle and I'm sure every culture has this, but again, this is a Black conversation, Black credit conversation, because I'm Black. I'm having a Black experience. So I'm talking to you as a Black woman. That's all I can do. And the thing is, I came to know credit based on what I saw the adults in my life do, whether it was good or whether it was bad. And that allowed me to form my own habits and opinions about credit and to build a relationship. Like I don't know if every other culture has the experience of sitting in the car before your mama goes to apply for a car and y'all pray and ask God for favor first. You know what I'm saying?
That's so real. That's so real what you're saying, because it used to be a time where I used to try to go get a car. I knew my credit was just horrible. It was just, I was like, and the dude said, "Oh man, it don't matter what your credit is and this and that." And so he just be like, I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, man, just go and just run the credit, man, and let's just get it over with." And so, he'll come, he'll make that slow walk back on over to the little booth. And he said, "Well, hey man, listen, soon as he say, hey man, listen, you're like, hey, listen, man, I done been down this road before, man. I told you what the deal was with my credit, this and that." But as you say now, it is a joy to talk about, because now, I can walk around with my chest out right now, and I'd be like, okay, all right, listen, I'm the one, listen, Black folks, be the shot caller. You be the shot caller now. Because when your credit is right, you can get anything. And that's the beauty of it, is that when your stuff is right, and also just to, add just a little bit of encouragement to what you said, I don't care what your credit is like. You can always get it if my credit can get taking care of anybody's. And it takes time, but during that time you need to learn the good habits. So let me ask you something. So we have our credit. You got the Black credit conversation going on. So I heard a dude yesterday on Facebook, and he was like, he says, "Hey, listen, your credit score is not important." He said the only thing that's important is how you are spending your money. The banks are not looking at your credit score and this and that. And so I was reading some of the comments that the people were were saying to him, and this one lady, she said, "Boy, you need to stop lying on this particular thing right here." She said everybody is looking at that credit score. And your credit score is who you are.
It is, because this is what a lot of people don't understand. Most people look at, okay, I have a credit score, right? What you don't understand is that credit score classifies you. to lenders and potential lenders and to banks. Not only do you have a credit score, you have a credit classification. And depending on how you were classified because of your credit score, that tells them how to lend to you. Because if you are what's considered like a super prime borrower, which depending on the bureau will say that you have a 720 or higher credit score, which let me put a peg right there. I'm gonna get back to that. I'm gonna stay on point. Most people think when they have jacked up credit or you're starting to learn credit, you're really excited, right? You say, I got to get to an 800 credit score. I know because I was there. I was like, I got to get to a 800. I got to get this 800. I got to get an 850. I want perfect credit, perfect credit, perfect credit. You can have a 740 to a 760 credit score, and you will get offered pretty much the same exact rates as a person with an 800, an 813, an 815, an 850. You are considered a super prime borrower, right? You're considered a super prime borrower. So when you have that kind of a credit score, you are now getting some of the best rates that banks have to offer. So your credit score does matter, because what happens is, and this goes back to why people say that credit is a trap for Black people, or they'll say something like they generalize it and say Black people only get offered the worst rates and we are targets of predatory lending. Understand this. We are targets of predatory lending because of the credit score we have. Now, yes, there are systemic things that have happened to us. We can go all the way back. We can go back to slavery, and then we can work it. We can go all the way forward, right? 1968 Civil Rights Act. We can see how there has been oppression that has affected our community. But the biggest thing that has affected us with our credit is ignorance, because you do not have to be rich to have a good credit score. You have to have an understanding of how credit works. And it is time for us to address, yes, the biggest thing about your credit is, even if you don't use a credit card, even if you don't use, you do not have to use the credit that is extended to you all the time to have good credit. That is a myth. That is a misconception. Building credit means when you are extended credit, that you keep your word to the obligations that you have made. And you only have a high interest rate because either you have no credit, so you have to establish that credit. And once lenders know that you are a person that will pay your obligations financially, then you get offers for better credit. The better credit includes lower interest rates, because that's how you get into debt with it. That's how it becomes a trap, because you have a credit card where you're introduced with a 19% interest rate, and you go and you start paying on it, and you do good, you pay the minimum payment, then you stop. You decide, instead of paying that minimum payment one time, you're gonna go eat one time, or I'm gonna go get my nails done, or I'm gonna go get my hair did. You do that one time, and what you don't understand is that one missed payment, now that 19% interest rate becomes 29.9% interest. And now you're paying it. So not only did you say, well, I'll pay that $39 late fee. I think they're going to charge me like $39, but that's cool. No, you paid $39 when you could have paid a $20 minimum payment or a $100 minimum payment. And now your interest rate is 29.9% on whatever the balance is you owe for the life of that credit card relationship with that company. And the only way to get out of it is the knowledge that you can have if you understand the game. Because even then, I posted something today that is not a death sentence. It's a mistake. But we have to stop using our race as an excuse to say that people are after us. Yeah, there are things that the government and everybody else has done to us, but we have to have accountability. We have to know and understand our people, we perish for a lack of knowledge. And I want people to understand that. That's why I had this conversation, because even if you got into a situation, there are things you can do. And that's why when people sign up, depending on what your situation is, because it's a dude that was in Atlanta. His name was Shawty Low, right? You don't know about I know you know about the A. You used to
I know about it. Yeah.
Okay. Used to have a song. And Shawty Lowe's song was like, done it all. Look, I've done it all pretty much with my credit. And so I've been able to take the ashes of my credit mistakes. And the beauty is I am no longer ashamed of what I did. So I share that knowledge with you. So I can tell you when you jack up and you go eat and get your nails done and don't pay your minimum payment and they increase you to 29.9% interest, I can tell you how to pay it on time, right? You pay it on time, you get good, let your credit kind of heal itself because your score is going to drop a little bit. But if you, and the thing is too, this is what people have to understand. They only report a late payment after your 30 days pass. They don't do it when you first missed the payment. There's a penalty and there's a recompense for what you did. You have to pay for your bad choice with the credit card company, but you can be late 10, 15 days paying it and it won't report to the credit bureaus. Now, don't do that. Don't say I got 15 days. But what I'm saying is they won't report that if it's not over 30 days. That happens to the credit card company. So what you do is you make the payment, you take the hit, and then what you do is you get your credit straight, and then you look and see what your credit score is, and then you look and see what other credit cards you can qualify for. And if the company, you can call them and say, hey, I know I messed up. I'm so sorry. If you don't have a history of doing that repeatedly, they may give you some grace and they may allow you after a little while to go back down to an interest rate. It may be a little bit higher, but it may not be 29.9%. And if they're not willing to do that, then you may have to decide that what you're going to do is don't close that account because you want the history. Make sure it's a zero balance. Don't call them and say, well, you know what, since you wouldn't give me some grace, you couldn't give me a better credit interest rate, I'm going to leave you. Keep the card open. Keep it in good standing. Zero balance. Because if you got a zero balance, that means you owe them zero money. And zero, if they charge you 29.9% interest on zero, how much is that? That's zero, right?
That's zero.
Transfer it over to another card. Now you start using that card for emergencies. You use that card to do things. And then you don't be late again. You learn your lesson. So this is credit is not, even if you jacked up, if you got a bankruptcy on your credit today, if you just got discharged from bankruptcy today, in 10 years, that bankruptcy falls off of your credit. What people don't understand though is you can still get a house in, I believe it's 2 years after bankruptcy. As long as you've been paying everything on time and you haven't defaulted on any more things, because everyone understands that you make mistakes. Life is not over until you breath leaves your body.
That's it.
You leave this earth, there is always another chance for you to fix your credit. Always.
So let me ask you this. Let me see how much more time. Okay, so I got a couple. All right, so I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, and so give me some direct answers on each questions I'm going to ask you. The first question is going to be: is it good to have multiple credit cards?
Yes, it's good to have multiple credit cards because you have more credit extended to you, and that helps your utilization number. But it is not good to have balances on multiple credit cards.
Great. Okay. How does inquiries affect your credit?
An inquiry, if it is a hard inquiry, it can take off several points each time you do one. And no one really knows how many points you get per inquiry. That's something that the credit bureaus decide. That could be 1, 2 points to 10, 15, 25 points. It just depends. But you can have a soft inquiry that takes away no points off your credit report.
Right. Okay. So what is your recommendation to someone who is trying to build their credit up, say in 6 months?
Okay. I would tell them to look at their credit report. You're going to pull your credit report. You can go to freeannualcreditreport.com and you can pull your credit report. Or I like to have all of my clients sign up for Experian. Go to Experian.com and you can sign up to do where they'll give you your real true FICO score, not fancy score. your FICO score, which stands for FICO, is Fair Isaac Corporation. You can get that FICO score for free every month. And they will also, when you first sign up, give you a 7-day free trial where you can get all 3 of your FICO scores from the 3 major credit bureaus. I suggest that everyone does that so you can know your true score, so you can see how good your situation is or how bad your situation is. I also tell people to sign up for Credit Karma, because Credit Karma allows you to understand what is on your report a little better. Do not use Credit Karma to go into a place and you see that you have a 700 credit score and you going to get a card thinking you have a 700 credit score. I've had so many people do that, and then they're angry and upset when they go in and their credit gets pulled and they have a 615 and they're like, oh, let me show you, because Credit Karma said that is a Vantage score. That is not a FICO score. So that is not the same thing that major banks and lenders look at all the time. So yes, I tell them to pull your credit report to see what's on it. And then the first thing you want to do is you want to go to collections, or you want to go to public records and stuff. Make sure you don't have any collections on your report. And if you do have collections on your report, you want to see if they actually belong to you. And if they belong to you, let me tell you this. This is a free tip. I'm going to give you this free tip. And I go into detail about how you handle, because there are some things you can do. There's some things that credit acts have been put in place to protect consumers. But understand this. You want to make sure that the debt is yours. And if it is a charged off debt, understand this, because most people don't. If you pay something that is in collections on your credit report, because you pay it, it usually does not raise your credit score. So if you were trying to raise your credit score, the first thing you need to do not go to collections and say, I'm going to pay off all these collections on my credit report, because that will not increase your credit score. That money should be used to help pay down some of the revolving debt. And usually revolving debt is a credit card account. And it's called revolving because if you have a $1,000 credit card account or a limit, that means that 1 month you can owe $5, the next month you can owe $100, the next month you can owe $1,000. That's revolving. It changes. Whereas an installment loan, like an unsecured loan, it's a fixed amount. If Brandee goes and gets a $5,000 loan from a bank, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion knows that I'm going to owe this $5,000 for the next 12 months, if that's how long I signed up for it. And the amount of that loan, what I owe, is only going to go down as I make payments. But revolving debt gives you greater risk to get in more credit trouble if you were to default. So those are 2 things you look at. So don't take the money that you have and go paying off collections. The only time that you really, really should be looking at paying off collections, and again, with collections, there's some remedies there that you can do by law. But with collections, the only time you really have to pay them off is if you're trying to get a mortgage. And the reason why, I'm going to give you this so people understand this is important. The reason why, if anyone's ever tried to get a mortgage loan and they know that they have something on their report like a collection, and the lender will come back and they'll say, look, the finance officer, they're willing to give you the loan at, it's going to be a higher interest rate because you have this collection, and they'll still give it to you at a higher interest rate, but you have to pay off this collection first before we go to the closing table. Right. We'll not let you close with this on there. And the reason why is anytime you have something that is in collections on your credit report, there is a potential for whoever you owe that money to put a lien on any type of asset that you have, which means that if you get a home and you owe someone money, they can put a lien on that property. And if they put a lien on that property, they have an interest in that property, which jeopardizes the loan that you have with a bank and a mortgage company. And that is why you need to pay off a collection before you close on the house, before you get a loan. But to just raise your credit score, you want to just start building your credit score up, that's not the first thing you do. You don't run. The other time you pay a collection is if they're threatening to put it on your credit report. And let me back up. This is free, but this is one of the most important things that people are going to learn today that's going to help people. If you're struggling with your credit right now, and you ignore those letters that come in the mail that tell you that if you don't respond within 30 days, that something's going to go on your credit and you have 30 days to respond. Say you go and you freak out right now and it says, oh shoot, oh crap, I got a letter 2 months ago or a month ago and they said they were going to put it. Go find the letter, contact the collection agency, and you call them and you ask them, has this already been reported to my credit report? By law, they have to tell you. They can't hide it. They can say why you want to know. They will let you know. Some people will even let you know the date. Be humble, be contrite, be act like you understand that this is your debt. If it's not your debt, approach it another way. Still be humble, but ask them, say, well, this really isn't my debt. Talk to them. Understand this. You can stop it from going on your credit report by talking to them and establishing a payment installment loan, because all they want to do is, an installment payment, like not a loan. You tell them, if you owe them $200, can I pay you $10 a month for the next 2 years? Try it, offer them the least amount, counter them, tell them $5 and see, they may say 10 or 12. You may have been able to pay 20, but give yourself some room. Because the thing is, most collection companies, they either, like, say if you owe a medical bill, and please, y'all, for the love of Jesus, y'all, if you got a $28 bill from LabCorp, pay that. It's not worth letting $28, $38, $48, $52 go on your credit report and cause you. People need to understand this. A collection can take 20 to 100 points off your credit score. One collection. Nobody knows. That's one of the things. If somebody's figured it out, they need to let me know. I'll pay them to know it so I can add that to the information I share with people. It's valuable. I don't know what they use to decide how many points they take away. But understand that a $38 LabCorp bill that's on your credit, that you're going to get a house, so you go ahead and pay it. It didn't harm you. It didn't cost you hardly anything. That was $38. I paid that. Cool. Yeah. That 120 to 100 points that came off your credit score could cost you thousands of dollars on a home mortgage over 15 to 30 years.
And you know what? And let me tell you something. Brandee and myself, we grew up in a church where, after they finish preaching, the choir get up to sing and they collect the offering.
Yes, sir.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you have been schooled today. And, and the reason why I'm saying this is because we have gotten so we're not educated. And, and so I feel like, we've just got educated on, how we are supposed to handle our credit. Now, I could go on and on with Brandee about this. I'm not going to do that. And the reason why I'm not going to do this is because Brandee does this for a living. And so let everybody know.
Okay.
What your website is.
Okay. My website and all of my social media handles are the same. www.blackcreditconversation.com. So I'm Black Credit Conversation on Instagram. I'm Black Credit Conversation on Facebook. And you can also text me to say, hey, let's talk. I'm ready to get started. Text me at 404-941-1862.
All right. So you guys have got the gospel according to Brandee Wilder.
That's it.
And listen, I want to thank you for coming into the lab to be able to educate us on this. And I want to encourage everyone to visit her website. Now, let me tell you something, Black folks. Everything ain't free. Now, what you got today, you got a little bit of this and a little bit of that. However, you go on the website now, some stuff that you need to know in depth, it may cost you a little bit now, but it's stuff that you need to know. So just like how you guys go out there and spend $200 on a pair of Jordans, and you guys go out and, spend $300 to $500 for bottle service up in the club. And I know y'all doing it. I already know. So spend your money on some wisdom and some knowledge and get some understanding on how to improve your life. Your credit is your life, and things that you want in life, you can have these things if you do the right thing. So, Miss B,
Hey,
the pleasure has been mine.
thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so very much.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna have you in here again to speak on some other things,
Let's go.
in the future. But hey, for right now, thank you so much, dear.
Yes,
Now
sir.
listen, this is the first day of our financial literacy week. Tomorrow in the lab, we're gonna have Cash Flow Christy Howard from Atlanta,
Nice.
Georgia,
Yes,
who
that's
will be
my
talking
girl.
about, the multi-level marketing game. Some people like it, some people don't, but hey, she's cashed in and she's doing extremely well.
She's doing
So
her.
I want everyone to be able to join the show tomorrow if you can. This show is going to be airing at 5 o'clock Pacific Coast Standard Time, 8 o'clock East Coast Standard Time on the YouTube channel of Pick a Side. Pick a Side.
Nice.
I want to encourage everyone to share as well as subscribe to the channel. And as I close all of my shows, always keep God first place in your life.
Yes,
He will
sir.
take you places that you never dreamed of. Miss B.
Yes, sir.
Until then, you have yourself a good day in the Big A. Bye-bye.
Bye.